Here's the truth about midlife. It's not about what's happening to you. It's about how you think about what's happening to you in your midlife journey.
And the mindset you bring to midlife will determine whether it's a crisis or a transformation.
So today, we are talking about the mindset of modern midlife.
Welcome back to Midlife Unfiltered. I'm Alice from Prime Midlife, and this is Jenny from Midlife Clover Community. Today, we are diving into something that doesn't get talked about enough, the mental framework you need to thrive in midlife. Because here's what I've learned working with midlifers. The external circumstances matter less than how you are thinking about them. Two people can be in the exact same situation and have completely different experiences based on their mindset.
Exactly. And I think what's fascinating is most of us are still operating with a mindset that was handed down from previous generation. But the world has changed drastically. The opportunities available to us, the timeline we have been working with, what's possible is all different now. So we need a different way of thinking about this phase of life. Today, we are going to break down what that looks like.
Yes, so first off, let's start with the old mindset, the one most of us absorbed without realizing it. So the old midlife mindset says you have already become who you are going to become. Your personality is set, your skills are established, your trajectory is locked in. It's essentially a fixed mindset applied to an entire phase of life. You are supposed to maintain what you have built, not create anything new. You are managing decline, not building momentum.
Right. And it treats midlife like a time to settle. You have had your big career moves. You have made your relationship choices. You have established your identity. Now you just execute on those decisions for the next 20 or 30 years. There's this assumption that learning and growth and reinvention are for young people. Midlife is about stability and predictability. And if you're feeling restless or questioning things that treated as a problem to be fixed rather than information to be listened to.
And there is this deeply embedded belief that your value is behind you, that your best work happened in your 30s and 40s, and now you are just coasting on past achievements. Especially for women like us, there is this narrative that you become invisible in midlife, that you are no longer relevant or interesting or capable of creating impact. This is such a limiting, depressing way to think about potentially 30 or 40 years of your life.
So let's talk about a different approach. One of the biggest mindset shifts for modern midlife is moving from goals to system. Most of us have been taught to be goal-oriented. Set a goal, achieve it, set the next one. And that works fine when you are climbing a ladder with clear ramps. But midlife isn't about ladders anymore. It's about designing a life that actually works for who you are now and who you are becoming.
I love this distinction, Jenny. True enough, goals are about outcomes. Lose 10 kgs, get promoted, save this much money. But systems are about the daily practices and habits that create sustainable change. And here's why this matters in midlife. Goals have endpoints. You achieve them or you don't. And then what? Systems create ongoing transformation. They compound over time. A goal says, I want to be healthier. A system says, I walk every morning and I cook real food and I protect my sleep. One is a destination and the other is a way of living.
Exactly. And in midlife, you need system because you're not building for a short-term win. You're building for potentially decades. If you think in system, you are asking different questions. Not what do I want to achieve, but how do I want to believe? What practices will create the life I actually want? What daily habits will move me towards the person I'm becoming? It's much more sustainable and much less exhausting than constantly chasing the next goal.
Yes, and actually it also takes the pressure off. You are not failing if you haven't achieved the outcome you set. You are succeeding every time you show up for your system. It's a much kinder, more realistic way to approach change in midlife.
The second major mindset shift is embracing a true growth mindset in midlife. And I say true because a lot of people think that they have a growth mindset, but they have unconsciously excluded themselves from it because of their age. They believe people can learn and grow, not just them, not anymore. But the research is clear. Your brain maintains neuroplasticity throughout your life. You can learn new skills, develop new capabilities, change your patterns, rewire your thinking. Age is not the limiting factor that we have been told it is.
Yes, and this is so important. I work with people who have decades of experience, real expertise, proven track records, and they are convinced that they can't learn new technology or pivot to a new field or develop a completely different skill set. And this is not true. It might take longer than it did when you were 25. You might need to approach it differently, but you are absolutely capable of learning and growth in midlife. The question is, do you believe you are?
And here's what exactly advantages about learning in midlife. You have context. You have judgment. You can integrate new knowledge with existing wisdom in ways younger people simply can't. You're not starting from zero. You're adding to a sophisticated foundation. When you learn something new in midlife, you can immediately see how it is being connected to everything else you know. That is incredibly powerful.
Yes, that's true. And the growth mindset in midlife also means being willing to be a beginner again. And actually that could be uncomfortable for people who have been experts for decades. You have to be willing to not be good at something, to ask basic questions, to admit you don't know. But that discomfort is where the growth happens. If you're only willing to do things you have already good at, you are not growing. You are maintaining, and maintenance is not what midlife is for.
Alice, what can we do?
Well, very good questions. That will bring us to constant learning and reinvention. The old mindset says you have one career, one identity, maybe one major reinvention if you are lucky. But the modern midlife mindset says you can reinvent yourself multiple times. You can learn new things continuously. You can have several different chapters and they don't have to build in early to each other. You could be a corporate executive who becomes a coach, or a lawyer who becomes an entrepreneur, and a teacher who becomes a consultant. The possibilities are much wider than we have been told.
And constant learning doesn't mean we have to go back to school or get another degree.
Yeah.
Although we certainly can if we want to. It means staying curious. It means reading widely, having conversation with people outside our usual circle, experimenting with new ideas, being willing to update on our views when we encounter new information. It's intellectually aliveness. And that's one of the most important things we can maintain in midlife. That sense of curiosity and engagement with the world.
Yes, and I also think constant learning keeps us relevant, not in a desperate trying to keep up way, but in a genuine engaged way. We understand what's happening in the world. We can participate in current conversations. We are not stuck in how things used to be. And that matters professionally, but it also matters personally. It keeps us interesting to ourselves and to others.
And reinvention isn't about rejecting who we have been. It's about evaluation. We are talking about everything we have learned, all our experiences and wisdom, and applying it in new ways. We are building on the foundations, not demolishing it and starting over. That's really important distinction because a lot of people resist change because they think it means losing their identity. It doesn't. It means expanding it.
So why does modern midlife require a different mindset than our parents' generation had? So let's be specific about what's changed. First, longevity. Our parents' generation was planning for maybe 10 or 15 years after retirement. we are potentially looking at 30 or 40 years. That is not a wind down phase. There is a massive chunk of life that needs to be intentionally designed. The old midlife mindset of coasting to retirement simply doesn't work when retirement might be a third of our adult life.
Technology has completely changed what's possible too. Our parents' generation had limited options for career changes, or learning new skills, or even staying connected with opportunity. If we wanted to pivot, we even need to be physically relocate or go back to school or know someone who would take a chance on you. Now we can learn almost anything online and dive into AI world. We can build a business from our laptop and smartphone. We can connect with people and opportunities globally. The barriers to reinvention are so much lower than they used to be.
Yes, very true. And the social change matters too. Previous generations had much more rigid expectations about who we should be by midlife. The life path was prescribed: career, marriage, kids, retirement. So if we deviated from there, we were an outlier. Now there is so much more acceptance of different paths. People are getting married later, having kids later, or not at all, changing careers multiple times, structuring their lives in unconventional ways. There is more permission to design our own midlife now.
So if you are in midlife right now, the question isn't whether you are capable of growth and change and reinvention. You absolutely are. The question is, what mindset are you bringing to this phase? Are you thinking in terms of managing decline or building momentum? Are you focused on goals or system? Are you maintaining or evolving?
And here's the thing. Our mindset is a choice. It may not feel like a choice because we have been conditioned by culture and messages and expectations, but it is. We can decide today to adopt a growth mindset, to think in systems, to stay curious and learning. That decision will change everything about how we experience midlife.
Now we have been talking about all this concept, what midlife is, the mindset you need, but in our next video, we are going to get personal.
Yes, we will be sharing our own reinvention stories, the real, messy, transformative journeys we have been on. So watch the next one to hear what it actually looked like for us.